is Carla, and welcome back to the studio. And Happy New Year. I hope that 2024, I can talk, is starting off well for you. So, in this special video, my projects are going to be geared around New Year. So, I will have 2 cards and a calendar. So for my first card, I'm going to be using the Curved Occasion stamp set and the Year to Celebrate stamp set. These both are currently in our holiday mini catalog that is good through January 3rd. And at the moment, both of these stamp sets are currently available. So for my cardstock pieces, I have a piece of basic white thick. This measures 8.5 by 5.5 and scored at 4.25. I have a piece of basic gray. This measures 5.25 by 4. I have a piece of silver disco ball paper. This comes from Hobby Lobby, and I do have a link to this in the description of this video. So the size of this piece is 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. I have a 3.5 by 3-inch scrap of basic white and a 3 7/8 by 5/8 of an inch piece of basic white. So I'm going to start off with folding and burnishing my card base. Okay. And then I'm going to attach my paper to my basic gray. Bring in my glue. The day I went into Hobby Lobby and I was looking for more of the glimmer paper that you'll see that I use in the calendar that I'll be doing, I came across this paper. And when I saw this paper, I automatically thought of the Curved Occasions stamp set with those, with that disco ball stamp. So I figured I wanted to get the paper and kind of just put the two of them together, and thought it would be perfect for my New Year's video. Okay, and then I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to adhere it to my card base. Okay, we'll center that. And in this glue, this fine tip glue bottle, I have the Tombow multi-purpose, the green glue that we sell in our catalog. I like to have it in this bottle because I don't get as much glue that comes out. And you really don't need a lot of that glue because that glue has a latex in it. So a little bit really sticks really well. And that'll be, then the link to this I do have in the description of the video. Okay, so now for these two pieces, we're also going to be doing some embossing. So I have my silver embossing powder and I have my embossing additions toolkit. And I'm going to start off with using my embossing buddy. I'm just going to put some on my pieces here. This is to remove any oils that may be left from my fingers and any static. So that way we don't have any embossing powder where we don't want it. So I have my Versamark ink. Let me close up our glue. We don't need this at the moment. So I have this stamp with the disco ball and the stamp that says Happy New Year. So I'm going to ink this up. And I'll stamp this in the center. Okay, put that right there. And then I'm going to bring in my greeting and I'll ink that up. And then I'll bring it towards me so I can make sure that I stamp it straight and in the middle. Okay. And then I'm going to bring in my embossing powder. Now in this embossing additions toolkit, you get this tray, you get an embossing buddy, and you also get some reverse tweezers and this brush. The little spoon, I got that from a little package of hors d'oeuvre spoons from the dollar store. So I'm just going to add some of this powder. Give it another coat. It's hard to believe that we're already into 2024. But technically I'm still in 2023 when I'm doing this video. Today is December 30th. But this is airing on the 1st. And then let's do our greeting. Okay. So let's close this up. Okay. We'll move this out of the way. And then for this part, I'm going to speed it up. I'm going to heat emboss these two pieces. I will be right back. Okay, so for my disco ball, I'm going to bring in my 2 3/8 inch circle punch and try and get these all in there. Want to get the sparkles into the front and punch that out. And then I'm going to bring in my light smoky slate blend And let me just put another piece of paper under here because with the alcohol markers, they do bleed through the cardstock. So I'm just going to color just inside of these little openings. I should have actually colored this after I did the heat embossing. So that way this part would have been sped up as well. But a little too late now. I've already hit record. We're almost done. It's not too bad. I think I got all of them. Oh, do these little stars in here. Okay, that's good. And then I'm going to bring in my Wink of Stella. And we'll make this sparkle even more. So I am recording this video on December 30th. I really wouldn't dare try to record a video on the actual New Year's, well, not New Year's Eve anyway, especially when it gets closer to midnight. One of the things, I like the holiday. I really do, and I like, 4th of July. But I don't know if this is everywhere, but down here in Memphis, it's not just about setting off fireworks. Down here, they love to shoot off guns as well. So, needless to say, there's no going to bed early because you end up hearing a lot of the shooting into the night. And I really wish they wouldn't do that because, I mean, fireworks are bad enough, with people that have PTSD and then, with their pets and everything, but it's just nerve-wracking. So there is the disco ball. So for this piece, let me turn this over because I'm going to use some dimensionals on the back of this. And then we'll add one more in the middle so we don't have a saggy middle. Yeah, it's one of the things they do it. They do it on New Year's Eve as soon as it hits midnight, and they do it on the 4th of July, and it just sounds like a war zone here. I wouldn't dare be out traveling anywhere when all that is going on. Okay, so I'm going to place that down. And then for my greeting, I'm going to add some glue to the back of this. And then I'm going to add that right here. And it's going to line up with the paper. So it's the same width as the paper. Going to hold that down for a moment. Okay, and then we close that. And then I'm going to bring in my rhinestone basic jewels. These are retired. We no longer carry these. So I'm just going to add a few of these onto my card base. Take some of these small ones. We'll add one right there. And then another one here. Or actually, wait a minute. No, we still got these. What am I talking about? We still got these rhinestones. I'm thinking of the champagne ones. I'm sorry. These rhinestone basic jewels are still available. They're in our annual catalog. Okay, so that is our first card. On to our next. Okay, so for my second card, we're going to be doing a little bit of everything, and I'm going to be using some different stamp sets and dies and whatnot. So for this card, I'm going to be using the Cheers to That stamp set. I'm going to use the stamp that says Raise Your Glass and To the New Year. I'm also going to use the Sip Sip Hooray stamp set. I'm going to use the champagne flute and then this filler piece and the little bubbles. And then I'm going to use the Sip and Celebrate set of dies, and I'm going to use the champagne flute to cut those glasses out. And then I'll be using the Stylish Shapes dies. I'm going to use 2 of these label dies. Now the Stylish Shapes is currently available in our annual catalog. And then I'll be using the Basics 3D embossing folders. This is the crosshatch design. These are an online exclusive, so you can find them in the online store. So to get started, my cardstock pieces that I have a piece of basic white thick. This measures 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4.25. I have a piece of basic black. This measures 5.25 by 4. And then I have 2 pieces of basic white. These measure 4.25 by 1.5 inches. I have another piece of basic black. This measures 4.25 by 2. And then I have a 3.5 by 1 inch piece of basic black. So to start, I'm going to fold and burnish my card base. Okay, and I'm going to set that aside. Now for this piece of basic black, I'm going to be using this embossing folder, so I'm going to set that aside because I'll do all the die cutting and embossing at the same time. And then on these 2 pieces of the basic white, I'm going to bring in my stamp and the little bubbles and the champagne, and then I'm going to use the smoky slate ink and crumb cake. So I'm also going to bring in my scrap paper because I'll be stamping off. So with my smoky slate, I'm going to ink up the champagne flutes. Ink that up really well. I'm going to stamp this in the center. I'm going to stamp 2 of those. Okay. And then I'm done with the smoky slate. And then I'm going to bring in my crumb cake. Okay. And then for this filler piece, I'm going to ink this up. And then I'm going to stamp it off. And then I'm just going to stamp it into the glass. So it's kind of it has a bit of a watercolor look to it. I'll do the same thing with this one. Stamp it off and stamp it in the glass. Okay, and then I'm going to bring in these little bubbles and I'm going to just stamp those full strength, like so. Okay, we're done stamping that. Now these I will die cut with my die, so I'll set those aside. And then I'm going to bring in my embossing additions toolkit again. And I'm going to use my embossing buddy on my pieces of black cardstock. Okay. And then I have this little piece of Swiffer that I'll use to just wipe down my cardstock after I do the embossing. I'm not so concerned over it when it comes to like a really light cardstock, but when you got something darker, that residue powder, you can still see it. Now, for this, I'm going to stamp the Raise Your Glass and To the New Year with my Versamark ink. And I'm going to be using an embossing powder that Stampin' Up! Does not carry. This is the Recollections Pearl embossing powder. This is a champagne color. Now, I bought in Michael's, and I had gotten this a few years ago. And I looked online on their online store, and they didn't have it anymore. So I did find something similar out on Amazon, so I did link it in the description of the video. So I'll open that, and I'm going to ink up my Raise Your Glass. And I'm going to stamp that on this larger piece, and I'm going to center it. I'm going to hold it there for just a moment. Okay. And I'll go ahead and put my powder on there. Okay, that looks good. So I'm going to set that aside because I'm going to do my heat embossing at the same time. And then that particular greeting, I'm going to use this stylish shape label to die cut that afterwards. And then let me bring in my other piece and ink up to the new year. Now when I go to die cut this, the die will cut off some of these lines on either side of the greeting. So for this one, I don't want to push really hard, and I want to try to avoid rocking it because this is such a thin stamp. Okay. We'll put some embossing powder on this. Okay. And I'll set that aside, and then I'll be using this die to die cut that. So let me take this and get this out of the way. We need these two things here. We don't want to mess with this, so let's just move it. Okay, so I'm going to speed this part up and I will be right back. Okay, so let me bring in my pieces. So I'm going to take this embossed piece and I'm going to attach it to my card base. Add some glue to the back of this. Okay. I'm going to center this. Like so. Okay, so I'm done with my glue. Close this up. And then for these embossed pieces, I'm going to bring in my dimensionals. Now I have some edge pieces here that I'm going to go and use from my basic black, or my black dimensionals actually. And let's see, we could fit this whole one. Okay. So for my raise your glass greeting, I'm going to place that up near the top here. So I'm going to center it, and I'm going to come really close to the top edge of that embossed layer. And then I'm going to add another bit of the dimensionals on this smaller strip. And I'm going to add that centered and at the bottom, like so. And then for my 2 champagne glasses, flip these over and I'll add some dimensionals to the back of these. Okay, and then let me bring in my smaller ones and my take your pick tool, and I will add one to the bottom of these glasses like so. Okay, take these paper backings off. Okay, and then I'm going to add both of these kind of like at an angle. A little bit of the adhesive from the post-it tape that I use to hold the dies down. And then I'll put this one here. And now I'll bring in my Stella, and I'm going to add some on this champagne part. Okay. Now we're starting to get some streaking because more's coming out of the brush. This one's a fairly new Stella, and you want to be careful, squeezing it because you don't want it to have a puddle on your project. So now I'm going to bring in the champagne rhinestone basic jewels. These are the ones that are retired. So on this sheet, I just have the small ones left on it. So I'm going to use these. I'm going to add 3 of them on my card, like so. Okay, so that is our second card onto our calendar. Okay, so for my final project, I'm going to make a little desk calendar. Now, a little history on this. So the job that I currently work at, when I started, when it was Christmas, I always made, some little treat packaging, and put some little treats in it, and I would make a little something for everyone that I work with. Well, when the pandemic happened in 2020, we started working from home, so we weren't going into the office. So I still wanted to be able to do something for everybody, and I had to think of what could I do that, wouldn't be over the top expensive, especially when it comes to postage, because whatever I did, I'd be mailing it to them. And when you're talking about like 13 to 14 people, it can all add up. So over the years, these calendars have been well received, so I just continue to do this every year for them. And this calendar that I'm going to make for you is actually going to be my calendar because I made everybody else's and sent it off to them. I just didn't make mine yet because I wanted to use it for this video. So when I do these calendars, what I do is I know what all their favorite colors are. And so I'll create their calendars based upon, using their favorite color in it. And I always like to use a greeting that is going to have some kind of inspirational, something positive, because this is something that they're going to see on their desk every day. So for this calendar, I decided to use the flowering tulips stamp set and using this greeting that says, "Let today be the start of something new." And I'm also going to be using the Distressed Tile 3D embossing folder. This is currently in our holiday mini catalog, but this is carrying over, so it's either going to be in the online store or it will be in our new annual catalog when it comes out. So for my pieces, I have an 11 by 4¼ inch piece of gorgeous grape cardstock, and this is scored at 5½. I then have a 4¼ by 4¼ inch piece of gorgeous grape, and I scored it at 1/2 inch, 2 1/8, and 3 3/4. This will be the piece that kind of holds it together. I then have a piece of basic white. This measures 5¼ by 4. And for that piece, I'm going to be using the embossing folder, so I'm going to set that aside. I then have some dark purple glitter paper. Yes, purple is my favorite color. And this glitter paper is not a Stampin' Up! Product. This is actually from Hobby Lobby. And I have linked to this as well in the description of the video. So this piece measures 3¼ by 2½. This piece is 3 by 3. And then I have a 2 3/4 by 2 3/4 inch piece of basic white. So for this piece, I'm going to bring in my gorgeous grape ink, and I'm going to stamp this greeting in the middle. There's one thing, the people that I work with, a lot of people like purple. So I end up making, I would say, including myself, probably about 6 or 7 items with purple. Okay, so that's all the stamping that we're actually doing for our calendar. So for this greeting, I'm going to be using the Label Me Lovely punch. This is in our current annual catalog. So I'm going to center this, hopefully get it straight. Okay, and then I'm going to punch that out. And then, actually I need that punch again. So for the, what size is this? This is the 3 by 3 piece of the glitter paper. I'm going to punch a piece of this out. Now this glitter paper, it came from Hobby Lobby, and the glitter likes to come off on this paper. Okay, so for my base of my calendar, I'm going to take this and I'm going to fold it, and I'm going to burnish it. Okay. And then for this piece, this is going to go on the inside, and what it'll do is it'll prevent it from like opening all the way up. So I'm going to burnish on these score lines, and this is what we'll have. It looks like a V, W, and we'll put that in our calendar. Actually, we can do that now. And I'm going to bring in my tear and tape adhesive, and I have a block that this either came from a paper pumpkin kit, my first paper pumpkin kit, or it was part of one of the kits. Now there's a difference with these blocks as opposed to the other ones. These kind of like have a sharper edge to them, and I like to use those to get a nice straight edge, cut edge from my tear and tape, like so. And then I'm going to add another piece to the other side. Tear that. Okay. And then I'm going to remove my paper backing. And then on my base, I'm going to adhere it this way. So this part is facing inside and it's facing towards the top. So I'm just going to line this up with my base. So it's even, and then I'm going to press. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to remove my paper backing. And I'm going to line this up with the other side. Like so. So that way it will stand like that. And with the weight of what I put on the front of it, it won't, it just won't spread out. Okay. So I'm going to put that aside. And then on this piece, my glittered label, I'm going to cut this in half. And then I'm going to, let's see, what do I want to use on this? I'll bring in my glue. And I'm going to add some glue up near the top of this. And then I'm going to take half of this label and I'm going to line it up. Oops. So that way you see some of it at the top. I'm going to press that down. And hopefully it'll stick really well because of the glitter. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom of it. Get this glue goober off of here. It's making it difficult. Okay. And I'm going to do the same thing. Leave a little border sticking out. on the bottom. Okay, we'll press that down. And I'm going to bring in my dimensionals, and I'm going to add 3 of them here in the middle, kind of covering up both of the edge pieces of the glimmer paper. And then I'm going to add to the top and bottom. Okay, now I'm going to set that aside. And then for this part, I'm going to run this through my cut and emboss machine, and I will be right back. Okay, so let me bring in my pieces. So for this embossed piece, I'm going to bring in my glue. I'm going to add some to the back here. It didn't, I think I had done like 14 of these. This would be like number 15. And they really came together fairly quickly. So I'm going to center this in the front, and I got glue where I don't want it. So when that dries, I will take my adhesive remover and I'll remove that. So I'll press this down. Okay. Now on this glitter piece here, I'm going to bring in my calendar. So these calendars are from Tailored Expressions. I do have a link for them in the description of the video. So for these little mini tear-off calendars, you can get a package of 10 of them. And I believe I paid either $4 or $4.50 for them. So really inexpensive, and they're great. So I'm going to use my liquid glue. Now this may need to take I can't talk. The video rolls and the brain and the mouth don't want to work. So I'm going to add glue to the back of this, and since I'm adhering it to this glimmer paper, it's probably going to take a little bit for it to dry so it doesn't shift. So I'm going to center that on there. So we're just adding a little bit more of the glitter, little bedazzling element to our calendar. And like I said, these came together like fairly quickly. So I did these in like a dark pink, I did it in an aqua, I did it in blue, red, black, yellow, and of course purple. I think that was all the colors that I did. Okay. So then for this, oh, I got the label on the back. and take that off of there. So that way this will stick a little bit better. I should have removed that before I did, before I started the video. It's coming out fairly easily. Okay. Get rid of that. Okay, so then I'm going to add glue to the back of this. Okay, we'll close this up because we're done with our glue. Okay, let me bring in this piece, and then I'm going to center this down near the bottom, like so, and then I'm going to hold that for a moment. Okay. Take this block and I'll put this down just to kind of hold it, put a little bit of weight on it to hold it down. Okay, and then for this piece here, I'm going to remove the paper backings off of my dimensionals. And I'm going to center that here, like so. And then that day that I was in Hobby Lobby, when I got the disco paper, the disco ball paper, and the glimmer paper, I also saw these embellishments and thought, well, those are just like really colorful and sparkly, and I thought these need to go on the calendar. So I have linked these in the description as well. So I'm going to take one of these larger ones and I'm going to add that over here. And then our medium sized one I'm going to place over here. And then the smaller one up there. Okay, so that is our calendar. Let me move my blocks out of the way here. And hopefully this is sticking well. So there's my calendar, and all they have to do is just tear off the pages as you go through each month. So a fairly inexpensive little gift that I created for all of my coworkers. So let me remove this and let me bring in all the projects that I made for you today. So we started off with our disco ball New Year's card. And then I created the champagne raise your glass to the new year card. And then I created the nice glimmery, shiny, sparkly calendar that'll sit just like that. So let me lay that down so you can see it. So I hope you like these projects. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel. It is helping me in growing my channel. And Happy New Year, everybody. I hope that in 2024 that it's a healthy one for you. It's a prosperous one for you. And let's just pray and hope that it's better than what it's been so far this year. So until then, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for supporting me and watching my videos with liking, commenting, subscribing. I really appreciate it. So here's to 2024. I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye and have a blessed day.